Before you make your next big decision, ask yourself one question. Who's really making this decision? At first, this sounds strange, I know. You'd probably answer, I am. But are you? Or is something deeper quietly influencing the way you see your options? Here's the assumption many of us make. Because I've thought this through carefully, my conclusion must be objective. But Scripture gives a very different picture. Romans 12 tells us to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So, why would God command us to renew our minds if the way we naturally think was already trustworthy? Because apart from God's transforming work, our thinking is shaped by something: our experiences, our wounds, our disappointments, our fears, our successes, our failures. Those things become lenses in every decision we make through them. Think about two people standing at the edge of the same opportunity. One sees a possibility, the other sees risk. One sees God opening a door, while the other sees another chance to get hurt. The opportunity hasn't changed, the lens has. That's why simply thinking harder doesn't always produce better decisions. If your perspective has been shaped by fear, you'll naturally interpret uncertainty as danger. If it's been shaped by rejection, you'll expect criticism before you've even begun. If it's been shaped by lack, you'll assume there isn't enough. And here's the problem: those thought patterns often feel like wisdom. We tell ourselves we're just being realistic, we're being cautious, we're protecting ourselves, but are we? Or are we allowing old programming to make today's decisions? That's the blind spot. The same beliefs that influenced yesterday's regrets often continue shaping today's choices. Not because they're true, because they've become familiar. Scripture repeatedly calls us to put off the old self and be renewed in the spirit of our minds. That's not simply behavior modification, it's transformation of perspective. God doesn't just want to change what you do, He wants to change how you see. Because how you see determines how you decide. And how you decide shapes the direction of your life. That's why Proverbs tells us to trust in the Lord with all our heart and lean not on our own understanding. Notice what it doesn't say. It doesn't say ignore your mind. It says don't make your own understanding the ultimate authority. Bring it under God's truth. Let His word expose your assumptions. Let His spirit renew your perspective. Let His character become the lens through which you evaluate every opportunity. I've had moments where I was convinced I was making wise decisions. Looking back, I wasn't operating from wisdom. I was operating from fear that had learned to sound wise. That's humbling, but it's also freeing. Because once you recognize the lens, God can bring it to renew it. Yes, God can begin to renew it, actually. That's what biblical clarity does. It doesn't just give you better answers, it gives you a different way of seeing. See, I help people diagnose the hidden identity and direction issues that keep them stuck so they can take their next faithful step with obedience. Because the most important part of any decision isn't just the options in front of you, it's the identity, beliefs, and assumptions of the person making it. When God renews your perspective, your decisions begin to reflect His truth instead of your old programming. So before you make your next big move, don't just ask, what's the right decision? Ask, am I seeing this through the mind Christ is renewing or through patterns he's inviting me to leave behind. If this brought biblical clarity to something you've been wrestling with, share it with someone who's standing at a crossroads. And if you want this kind of biblical clarity before your next big move, download the Identity and Direction Audit application and apply to work with me. Together, we'll diagnose the hidden identity and direction issues influencing your decision so you can move forward with confidence, discernment, and faithful obedience. Until next time.